Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. It's Judy here, and today I am wanting to do some mixed media fun. And I have been getting into doing mixed media on canvas lately, and so what I am doing, I was going to go ahead and do one with you, and also show you a couple that I have done just recently. So basically what you need, if you're just going to do like just a simple straight out mixed media canvas, you can do it with stencils, which I am wanting to use this one today. So you can pick whatever kind of stencils you want. You can use burlap, you can use this type of faux outdoorsy ribbon, anything, chicken wire, moss, just different things that you can glue down to your board to make it a real big mixed media type deal. Or you can just do a stencil and use different pastes and colors and paints and things of that nature. So what I'm going to do right now today is just a simple one, like I said, on a canvas that I got at the dollar store, the Dollar Tree. They have nice canvases for $1. If you're wanting to get into the more high end, once you get used to doing this and maybe you want to make something for your home or to sell, then you might want to consider upping your game a bit. But I really think they're halfway decent. So I got this little one I'm going to practice on here. And you're going to need a sort of medium, and I am addicted to what they call Impasto, and I learned about this through PM Artist Studio, who is on YouTube. They also have every Sunday at 10 Central Standard Time, they always have a live where they do jelly printing and mixed media and all kinds of stuff. But I've learned a lot from them. This is where I learned what Impasto was. I had never used this specific medium, and I am in love with it so much that it's pretty much empty, and I am getting ready to go on to my second tub of it soon. Let me open it up here. Hopefully I won't fling it everywhere. Get that out there. As you can see, I have used a lot of it. I've like become an Impasto junkie, guys. It's crazy. So I have picked this specific stencil, and if you look at the stencil before you put it down, you can tell how the stencil should be laid. It's just that if you kind of hold it like this flat out and eye level, you can kind of see these little, it's like a second little ridge to a certain degree, and that will tell you what side your stencil is on. And I'm sure it's really hard for you to see that on my end of the deal. But that's just a tip for you that I learned from another artist. And I'm trying to see if I can tell on this one. I've used it for a bit, so I think it goes this way. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and tape this down so this doesn't move on me, because my luck, it will move on me. It always does. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tape this down in various places. So let's go ahead and do that. If it's going to stay here, and make sure you have the stencil placed where you want it. And I hope this stuff stays, but I don't know. It's just regular Scotch tape. I'm sure I probably could be using like an artist tape or something, but Scotch tape is what I had available, so Scotch tape is what I'm going to use. Hopefully it will stick to this canvas. And it's wanting to act up over here, but I will smush it down really good, as hard as I can, and hopefully it will stay. Okay. It's just this bottom part that's wanting to give me a fit. Well, it's not sticky on the bottom. That's why it's doing that. I must have not hit it right. Wow, it's just going to be really flat out, just give me trouble. All right, well, I'm just going to try the best that I can to keep it on here. And this canvas, like I said, they're not the best canvases, but they will work just fine. And I'm also a little at odds right now. I have a wounded thumb for my hangnail that got infected, so me doing all my stuff is kind of like being hindered a bit. But you want to make sure that's as flat as you can. This looks like it's wanting to kind of bow up on me a little bit, but because of the way the canvas is, but that's all right. It'll just end up thicker in places. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my palette knife and I'm going to get in there and I'm going to grab a fairly decent amount on the back of the palette knife. And I'm going to start at the top and I'm just going to smooth all this impasto goodness right down on top of it. Just try to make sure to get it on with everything. I'll grab me another hunk of it. And just spread it on like so, just like butter. I really think my tape job ain't that great, guys. All right. But it is what it is. All right, so I'm going to get all of that stencil covered. And you want to make sure, too, whenever you get done putting this on your stencil, that you wash it off. Because you don't want it getting dried on there if you don't have to. I made a big no-no, and I did actually not rinse off one of my stencils, and I was not very happy with trying to get it off. All right, so it looks like everything is good, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to lift this off, and hopefully, oh, geez, guys, like I said, my hand is all messed up, and I'm going to go ahead and set this to the side. I would normally have a pan of water, but I don't today. I was just kind of decided to do this on the fly. But what I am going to do is I'm going to get this bit that got on the side when I pulled off my stencil. And I am going to also scrape off this stencil as best as I can to get some of the rest of that impasto off, because I don't want to waste it. All right. Just take it and plop it back in there. All right, so with that being done, I do have a little thing of water right there for my paintbrushes, however. So I'm going to go ahead and cap this back up. I'm going to go ahead and set that off to the side. And what we really need to do is, of course, get that to dry, and it will take a minute or two. So I am going to come back here in a second and finish it. So give me just a moment here. All right, guys, so I went ahead and I dried it first and came back. I did use my embossing heat tool to do so, to speed it up, and it dries like a milky clear. And I just love how the impasto takes to paint. So what I'm going to use next is what I've done on the last couple. I have used this color wash tint by Tattered Angels, which I am really liking a lot. So what I think that I'm going to do is, I can't decide if I want to use the orange or the blue, but anyway, I have a couple different ones. Mimosa, Weathered Copper, French Toast, and Verdigris. Let's see here. Well, I am a sucker for orange, so I think I'm going to do an orange wash background. So that's what I've been doing, is I've been using these, and I've been doing a wash of color on them real quick. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and I am going to put a little bit right here on this little paint dish I have here. I'm getting all kinds of stuff in after I shook it up real good. Yeah, I'm just going to put some in there. Shouldn't need too much. It's not a big canvas. And then I'm going to go ahead and take, you can do a paintbrush or a big sponge. I'm going to go ahead and use this to cover more area. I've been really bad lately in using my fingers for a lot of different things, and I've been getting so much mess on them that I'm messing up my nails. All right, so I'm going to just put a quick wash over this stencil. Isn't it beautiful? This is called Mimosa, or what it looks like to me, aka orange. Fancy name, Mimosa. So I'm just going to wash over it with that. And I just love it. I love watching it just soak. I love watching paints and things like this soak into canvases and such. And I'm going to go ahead and do the edges of it since I have so much left down. I don't really want to waste it. So, and if I hit the camera, I'm sorry. It's to get it where I need it to be. It's like right kind of in my way. And I normally like to use flat canvases. And then if I'm going to, be hanging them up, I'll use those one adhesives that you can do that don't stick to your wall. And I am making a god-awful mess. But that's the fun thing about it, you know. You can get messy and who cares, you know. All right, so I did that. And I would like to do one more over it since I've been fingering it. I'm getting little fingerprints everywhere. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up with what I got here. See if I can grab a corner of it with my nail there. And I just want to get it, it's really soaked in there. Okay. Really soak in there. All right. Very pretty. And then what I'm going to do next, after I put that on there, is I am going to take my heat gun a second. And I'm just going to kind of dry it off real quick. Kind of try to bake it in there on it. There we go. Real quick like. Just be careful that you're moving your heat gun around enough so you don't start melting your impasto. I think that's pretty good. There we go. Don't want to sit there and keep doing that while we're on camera. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push this aside for just a second and let it go ahead and just dry even a little bit further. And I just want to show you real quick one of the ones that I just finished. And one of the ones that I just finished, I actually had other elements besides the impasto. I also used some of this, which I showed you, to put over the top of this when it was done. Right here, oh, actually I have it upside down. And actually, if you can see right through here, this is actually chicken wire that I have in there. So there's chicken wire here, and there is chicken wire up here. And I've just layered stencils on top of each other on top of that chicken wire. And then this is a strip of burlap. And then this right here is actually just a mat from a frame. So, and then I basically did the color wash it like we just did. And then I took all my different acrylics and went over it in detail. So that was one that I just finished the other day. And that one I not only used impasto, but I also used this light and fluffy modeling paste, which is really great too. PNM, who I was talking about earlier, they really like this stuff, and it really is super light, you guys. I mean, it's like, it's light as a feather. There's like, feels like there's nothing in there, which of course there is, but And if you hear any noise in the background, I apologize. My son's in his room and I just heard him laughing like really loud. So you might have just heard him. And then I just finished this one, and this was done all in the Impasto. And I did this with just acrylics, and I did the wash over it as well. And then I put, like, there was some glitter acrylic that I put on here to make it look kind of like a broken glass type look. So yeah, so that's what I just finished. All right, so let's go ahead and let's just pick a color real quick to go over the top of that, something that would be really pretty for the flowers. Let's see here. And orange and purple always go really well. So let me grab out some of my purples here. And we'll... Alrighty. All right, so let's do that. We'll do a purple, and I'm going to go ahead and grab out one of my paint brushes, and we'll get started with that. And I'm going to make this flower right here purple. So let's see, which one do I want? I think what I'm going to do is, let's see here. Let's see which colors I like better here. Purple. I think I'm going to do this really purple violet right here. So let's go ahead and get some of that on there. Stick that in my water. Put a little bit there. And it's always nice to have some baby wipes around as well. I've practically depleted that pack. Paper towels, always a must. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and pick up some of that on my brush. And I'll try to do this as easy as possible. And you might have to go a couple of coats over it as well. But in the end, it's really worth it. And with this being like a clear, opaque type gel medium, it's you kind of do have to put a couple of coats on. So, but that's fine. So we're just going to mess around right here. Add some on there to those flower petals. And hopefully I can paint this right. It's kind of hard to hold it's kind of hard to do this stuff when you're missing a thumb. Oh, I couldn't believe I did it. It really was like, you got to be kidding me. I knew better than to pick at a hang now, and what happens, but got infected for like the first time ever in my whole entire life. And let me tell you, I won't be doing that anytime soon. All right, let's see here. There we go. It's looking better and better and better. And, you know, I have went over these with several coats before, and even added different colors to it to change the effect of it once I put it down. So I have done that as well. I've dried it with my heat gun in between to speed it up so that I could add more coats quicker. So there's just all kinds of different variations and different things that you can do to these. All right, and just going to go ahead and dab it in there on those in the middle. All right, and then while I'm trying to let that get dry a little bit, I am going to go ahead and pick out a green. And let's see here. And I don't know what it is, but I have ended up with like 20 million different colors of greens, guys. more than any color that I own. Why, I'm not quite sure, but I do have tons and tons of green. So let's see here. Since this is really bright, let's see what I want. A bright palm foliage color. Let's go ahead and do the bright palm with the purple. Really make it pop off this Mimosa colored wash that I have on there. And put a little of that. And then also too, when you guys are doing your paint, really watch out, because you don't need a whole lot of paint half the time. And I am so horrible about using paint. I swear I squirt too much in there every time. I mean, every time. Like this purple I just used, I won't need all that purple. I mean, I probably needed half of what I've got there. And yeah, so it's kind of like paint to me is kind of like butter. I always end up using too much of it. So, all right. So then I'm going to just give these leaves a coat with this acrylic, and this one is called Bright Palm by Craftsman, which is found at where I got it was Michael's. And I'm just going to throw a quick color over those leaves. And I am going a lot quicker than I normally do, so forgive me if it doesn't exactly look like it's super duper professional or anything, but all right. There we go. And when you add to it and stuff, I'll go with my fingers. Like I said, you can just add more color to the top of the one you already had. I like to get the proper color that I like, maybe mix a few of them together, and then after I've done that and they dry, I'll go back in and I'll do a shadow over them. Or not shadow, excuse me, shading. Shading, not a shadow, shading. A shading over it. Shading over the elements, I should say. The leaves and the flowers and everything. All right. And I just find this so super relaxing. Painting is actually my favorite thing to do. Anything with paints. It was like one of my first things that I had when I crafted when I was younger was paints. I had a whole bunch at one time, and then I gave them to my daughter, and then I started getting into crafting again big time, and I've had to start all over, which was fine because, you know, who doesn't like to go out and buy new bottles of paint? I know I do. And it's always nice to make a list of what you have and in what type, whether it be the Craftsman or Delta or Folk Art, because I have a couple, well, more than a couple that I bought duplicates of, because I'm like, ooh, I love that color, and then you get it home and you start looking and it's like, holy moly, I got that same color already. It's like 3, 4, 5 bottles of it. So yeah, it's just nice just to have a nice list of it, and to make a list if there's something that you're making that you really like a lot. A good thing to do would be to make a list of the things that you used and the colors as well, just in case you forget, and should you want to reproduce it and or someone asks you, you'll be able to tell them what you've used. And there we go. All right, so I got those, and I did a little coat on those, and then I'm going to go ahead and do these leaves as well. I want to do them in a little bit different of a color though than that specific green. So let's grab another one. That one has not been opened. That's too dull, I think. Well, you know what we can do? I think what I'm going to do is I am just going to actually paint all these the same color, and then what I'm going to do is when I come back in to do some shading on them and such, I'll throw another color over a few of them. So I think that's what I'm going to do. That way I can kind of finish up what I've got here on my little palette of paint. And that way I'm not wasting what I put in there. And in doing that, I'll be able to have these leaves still have a different color and a different look. And, you know, sometimes you just have to play around for a while. You know, at first it might look like, oh, I don't know if I like that, but you just kind of have to keep going, because it does, the more layers you put and the better you know, do shading and things of that nature to it, the better it's going to look. And I 9 times out of 10 use the same kind of paintbrush, unless it's something really super small, and then I'll use a teeny tiny one, or sometimes I'll use the fan brush and stuff. But I'm just like, I'm real big on basically working with the same kind of brush all the time. I just have my ones that are my favorites, and I figure, why bother to mess around with it if I don't have to, right? I think those are some berries on there. Let's see here if I can get, follow that down. And like this, I could have been using a tiny brush. I'm not, though. I'm just going to keep using what I've got. Just using the edge of it, edge of the tip, to try to get just the little stems that branch off of this. I don't do too bad at it. I'm not using the thinner brush, but when I really want to get into detail and get into things, then I'm going to pick, I mean, I've got so many brushes here. I mean, you've got everything you can do with, but in that case, when I go to get into really itty-bitty things, I'll get like this little itty-bitty brush out, or say that little brush. It just all depends. Just really super intricate things is when I really super get those out. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and let those greens dry, and I'm going to find me a color for those berries. So let's do the berries in, I don't know, I think I want to do like a, you know, I'm just going to do them in this right here that I grabbed out. Country Red. Just real quick. And these, I'm not going to need hardly anything, so that right there is probably enough. And oops, I forgot to do these. And I did put a little bit more on those stems than the other ones. Try to finish up this green. And there we go. Bob Ross, I am not. I don't know how many of you guys like to watch him, but I think that man is like phenomenal. If I could paint like that guy, I would be like incredibly excited. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and come back in and do those berries. And we grab just a little bit, put it on just the very tip of my paintbrush. And dip it on there. And then you can flip your brush over, grab the paint that's on the other side of it. So just go down the line here and get those all colored up. Pretty. All right. And over here. And I apologize too if you can't see what I'm doing all the time, but I am left-handed, and left-handed people tend to like work right on top of their stuff, and then you can't see what's going on. All right. So I think that's pretty good. I'm not happy how that one looks, but even it out a little bit. Get these guys down here. All right. And oops, I'm over here, and see here again, too much paint. I said, oh, that's enough paint right there. No, it's too much again. You just got to really be careful and use it sparingly, because just too easy to throw it down like that. Okay, so got those guys. Alrighty, and then I'm going to go ahead and grab a color for that flower over there. That looks like there's some like daisy-like flowers. So I am going to grab this moon yellow and put a little bit in there. And go over those petals. There we go. And then what I'm going to do while that's kind of drying, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of dry over this again. So give me just a second and let me do that, and then I will be right back. All right, so I dried that a little bit to get that paint a little dry. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go back over some of the stuff. And what I've decided to do is over the green leaves, I've got some metallic folk art peridot. And I'm going to use a little bit over all of the green. And there's really no right way or wrong way to do it. I just kind of like, I can't really tell you how to paint because I just kind of like do it. I just grab a brush and I just move it whatever direction, I don't know, that I feel like you need to be going in, and it'll look a certain way to me, and if I like it, then I just keep going. So, but anyway, so I'm going to dip some in there, and this way, and this is shiny. It is a metallic, so it will make them look even prettier, because who doesn't like metallic, right? I am sure there is somebody out there that doesn't. I don't know them, but I'm sure there is. All right, so over each of these, and you can see too how nicely the color has taken to the impasto. And then also too, when you're putting this on, I kind of try to leave a little bit of the edge where it was the darker green originally, so that it kind of gives it a shaded effect when you look at it. That way I don't have to necessarily go back in and do that. If you're not happy though with your look, you can obviously go back in and mess with it some more until it is to your liking. And I know something to me, I'll sit there and go and do something and think it should take like a very short amount of time, and I just keep messing with it and messing with it and messing with it because I'm just not happy with it. And that's just, you know, just personal preference. Okay. And these little guys up. And these little guys, I didn't put as much green on these guys at the bottom. I could have probably went another coat over them, but I did not. That's all right. I'm going to shine them all up anyways. So you can take as much time as you want on these or not. It's just so gratifying and so much fun to see what you're doing just come alive right in front of you. That's what's so great about art. It's just fun, relaxing. Go to the beat of your own drum. And all that good stuff. Yeah. I actually like these leaves a little thicker anyways. All right. There. Here. So with me kind of running the paint together and onto the middle of that stem, I just kind of like that. I think it looks prettier. They're not, I don't like them spaced so far apart. So I'm just going to kind of take my paint and I'm just going to fill it in my own self and add extra color to make them appear wider and more to them than not. And then I'm going to come back in through here and just kind of go down the line in between these guys. And I am going to go just right in between them all, a little diagonal, and hook them all together with a little bit of paint. And make them come closer to the flower. And I'm going to go up through the middle of these two. See, you can do whatever you want, you guys. It's just your own personal preference. Just get out a canvas, some of your paints, and just have fun. Fun. Down the skin. And you can also get out like your markers or your, things of that nature, and you can draw different things on there as well. All right, I'm going to go back over the yellow just a little bit and touch that up a little bit. Yeah, like that. I got that one way too yellow. Oops, see, and I got it on my other one. Well, I can fix that. It's not a wonder I end up with paint all over my hands and everything. I'm sitting there touching this stuff all the time. Can't seem to keep my hands out of it. I've got, and the silly thing about it is I do actually have 2 boxes of gloves, some rubber latex gloves, and I just hate using them. I don't like my hands covered with them. Okay, so I got those. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fix my little one cherry one here that I messed up. Oops, I got too much water on there. You got to watch your water ratio to your paint ratio too, because you don't want to get it all watery if you're not wanting it all watered down or anything. So, all right. And then, so that's basically, it is all painted except for, you know what? I'm going to go back in a little bit more of that purple. And I'm going to extend the leaves out a little bit as well. Head them towards the center a little bit more. And then I think in that middle I should put a little bit of color. I'm going to take some of this green and go over the little bumps that are in the middle of the purple flower. And I might mix in a little bit of yellow. Let's see what it does. I just love yellow. I'm going to kind of butt that up against the purple leaves. Make it look a little more cohesive where they're attached. Because if not, that bothers me too. All right, so then let's see here. All right, so I'm basically pretty happy with that. So what I'm going to do, oh, no, I'm not. Forget it. I forgot to go back over the petals one more time. Purple petals one more time. Then I will be happy with it. And then I'll show you one last thing that I'm going to do to it after I finish redoing these purple petals one more time. That I like to do when I use the washes as well. It just depends on how it looks. Again, personal preference. And let's see, there we go. See what I mean? The more layers you put on it, then it'll look like that impasto, because it's just so opaque that it just, you need a few coats on it. It just depends on how you like how it looks. So, okay, so I got that on there. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I am going to add a little bit of, I'm thinking about trying to lighten up some of this white around here. So I think what I'm going to do, and I don't know if I'm going to mess it up or not. We're going to find out though. I'm going to take a little bit of this Martha Stewart satin wild salmon. I don't even know why I have this color. I think it was on sale. I usually don't buy Martha Stewart paints, but nice consistency, very thick. I like that. I do like thick paints over watered down paints. Again, it depends on what you were doing. And last but not least, let's see here. Trying to find my white. There we go. My white metallic. And I'm going to take a little bit of that white metallic and a little bit of that salmon. And I'm going to mix it around. So I need to grab something to mix it with. Couldn't find my mixer, and I'm sitting there thinking, there's a palette knife right in front of you. All right, so let me mix that up a little bit. And this is a little bit of the white metallic shiny into the Martha Stewart salmon to give it a little bit of a shine. All right, good enough. Good enough. All right, let's try that. Oops. As I make a big mess. All right, so I'm going to take a little bit of that, but I'm going to switch my brushes up. So I'm going to get out, get this little paintbrush here that I like to use as well. As you can see, it's been well loved. I'm going to get it wet a little bit, and then I'm going to dry it off a little bit. And get a little bit of that on there. I want to make sure it's not too loaded because I don't want to decide I don't like it. And I'm just going to kind of go over a little bit of this orange. And I'm just going to kind of go like this and do like as if I was painting a fence up and down. I'm just going to kind of try to lighten up the orange bit and just make it kind of look like it's got a, I guess, a whitewashed effect to it, only with orange color paints. So I'll get it in there. paint. There were a few parts I wasn't real happy with, so I wanted to kind of get some paint on those. I go in that. Try to blend it in here. All right. I think for the most part, the exception of right up against the, because there's like a little white spot right here, and that's where some of that impasto got on, so it lightened it up against some of those leaves and things. So I'm just going to kind of go in there with this and try to fix that so that you can't see it. And if a little bit of this paint gets on some of the other colors, if I don't like it, I can always go back in and add that color back to it. I just kind of butt it up against the yellow, because to me the yellow and this orangish color was going to kind of go. So that's what I was doing. All right. So I'm kind of liking the effect I'm getting here, with the exception is I'm probably going to, oops, sticking to my fingers, probably going to go back over those red ones. I just want to kind of get in between those others. So I don't like that extra white just hanging around in there. All right. All right, good enough. So if I decide I want to change stuff, I will a little bit later. However, I'm going to fix my little berries real quick and call it quits on this. And then I'll show you what I'm working on next. And be back again for another video another day. All right. So getting them all fixed back up. You know, you can hardly mess any of this up, because you can just repaint over it if you don't like it. So that's a good thing. You can always start with a blank canvas, so to speak, with the exception of that stencil on there, unless you stencil over it with something else or cover it with other elements of sort, like I showed you before at the beginning. All right, so basically that is it. I'm going to go ahead and dip them in there. This is our picture from today. I think it looks beautiful, and I am glad that you joined me. And if you have any questions, please drop them at the bottom, and I will reply to your comments. And also, if you'd like to see me use a specific element on canvas, burlap, or something you think might be interesting, let me know, and I'd be happy to give it a try. And I appreciate you guys joining me. Thank you so very much. I had so much fun, and you guys have a great, happy, safe rest of your day or evening, wherever it is that you may be. If you're new, please like and subscribe. I would truly appreciate you coming along on my journey of crafting. And happy crafting, guys. I'll catch you later. Bye.